December 8th, 2025 Eugene City Council meeting. Thank you for joining us in this hybrid meeting format. Anyone wishing to access the meeting remotely can do so by watching the live stream available on our website, the broadcast on Comcast Channel 21, or by following the access instructions listed on the city's public webcast and meetings materials webpage. Tonight's meeting will include a public comment, and if you wish to speak and have not already done so, please fill out a request to speak form on our public webcast and meetings materials webpage or at the entrance to this room. We will accept request to speak forms until 7:35 p.m., and these forms will be used to generate the random order of speakers and correctly enter speakers' names into the public record. I will add a small personal note that I will need to depart our meeting this evening at 8 p.m. Personally, council and business will continue. The public comment period will be limited to 90 minutes and conclude by 10 p.m., whichever occurs first. If the number of speakers exceed the time that we have allotted, we encourage speakers to consider abbreviating their remarks so that the maximum number of speakers can be heard. For those joining the meeting remotely for the public comment period, you are welcome also to email your comments to City Council, and that's true of anyone giving public comment. And as a reminder, Council's meetings rules of conduct apply to all attendees, both in the chambers and in the lobby, and include no flags, signs, loud or disruptive language, noise, or conduct that obstructs the business of the council. Please keep the room quiet and respectful for all speakers. There should be only one speaker speaking at a time, and you are welcome to wave your hands in silent support. Additionally, we encourage all those who are ill or who have been in close contact with others who are ill to join our meetings remotely rather than in person, and we have masks available in the lobby if anyone needs one. In case of a medical emergency, an automated external defibrillator, an AED, is located on the counter behind staff at the west side of this room, and emergency exits are through the double doors located at the back of the room and the double doors near the front of the room. The doors to the patio can also be used as needed. And with that, I now call the December 8th, 2025 meeting of the Eugene City Council to order. And we'll begin this evening with a land acknowledgement. Since time immemorial, the Kalapuya people have been the indigenous stewards to our region, building dynamic communities, maintaining balance with wildlife, and enacting sustainable land practices. This land acknowledgement is a way of resisting the erasure of indigenous histories and to honor Native communities by inviting truth and reconciliation. Following treaties between 1851 and 1855, Kalapuya people were dispossessed of their indigenous homeland by the United States government and forcibly removed to the Coast Reservation in Western Oregon. As we consider the impacts of colonization, we also acknowledge the strength and resiliency of displaced Indigenous people. The city of Eugene is built within the traditional homelands known as Kalapuya Ilihi. Kalapuya descendants are citizens of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde Community of Oregon and the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians of Oregon. They continue to make contributions in our communities here and across the lands. We express our respect for the inherent political sovereignty of all federally recognized tribal nations and Indigenous people who live in the state of Oregon and across the nation. The first item on tonight's agenda are ceremonial matters, an announcement of the proclamations that I've asked the city to prepare for this month. We will be celebrating and have celebrated Giving Tuesday, also International Day of Persons with Disabilities, International Volunteer Day, the Winter Solstice holiday, closing in on the end of the year, and this Wednesday, Human Rights Day. I would encourage all in Eugene to please review these proclamations. I will be sharing some with our community at community events and with community, and I hope you'll take time to reflect on all the ground that we have covered in 2025, but also the work that we have had together. Proclamations are a way to bring our attention to particular issues, opportunities, celebrations, and concerns within our community, and it has been a privilege to designate them in this first year as your mayor. Thank you, and that concludes our first agenda item. Our second item on tonight's agenda are committee reports and items of interest. I'll now open the floor to Council for committee reports. And Councillor Leach.
Thank you, Mayor, and I want to thank our City Manager Mandari and our Police Chief Skinner for ending the contract with Flock last week for ALPR cameras in Eugene. I appreciate the ability and the courage that it took to change course when it became clear to you that it was not in the best interest of our community. I know that decision will be a comfort to many of our community members, especially as we see and feel the impact of the actions being taken by the federal government to target, detain, and at times abduct our legal residents and our community members and our neighbors without due process. There have been other cities around our state that have declared and adopted resolutions of emergency in response to these federal actions, and it's my intent to start that process here for the City of Eugene. And I'm going to do so by making a motion in just a moment. But first, I want to highlight the fact that the City of Eugene has made a lot of strides in this realm. We have a lot of the things that the cities that have declared emergencies don't have or didn't have. We have declared Eugene as a sanctuary city. We have an Office of Equity and Community Engagement that tracks hate and bias crimes and does a lot of that training for our internal staff and out into the community to help alleviate impacts on our residents. We have a Human Rights Commission that advises council on matters of human rights and supports our city's efforts to promote and sustain equity. We have a city attorney's office that has legally challenged the federal government this year and won when they attempted to take away our funding and our grant funding. So it's my intent to bolster what supports and actions that we can to take care of our impacted residents and their families. So with that, I would like to move to direct the city manager to 1, explore potential funding needs of local nonprofit agencies assisting impacted immigrant communities, and 2, work with council leadership to draft a resolution reaffirming council support for the city's immigrant communities and acknowledging the crisis being caused by the federal immigration enforcement actions within those communities.
Second.
The draft resolution will be circulated via council poll prior to being placed on the agenda.
Second. Second.
Any discussion from council? This could be hard to track with the double queue. So council discussion related to this motion, because we have items of interest in the queue that I can see. Would you raise your hands? Councilor Groves and then Councilor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Councilor Leach. I appreciate the intent behind this. I certainly would support a resolution, but I would like to know more about any financial commitment being given our budget situation. At the same time, I would certainly encourage private donations to nonprofits that are helping to ease the burden on our immigrant community. Thank you.
Councilor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. My comments are very similar to Councilor Groves. We had an earlier presentation on the budget work that needs to be done in the next, couple of years. And Wednesday, we had a presentation on the situation with our long-term revenue forecast being less than we imagined it was. And we already had a difficult summer this last year. So that part concerns me. But I want to say this is a very difficult issue for me. My grandfather's name was Nordal Grostad, and he, as a young man, decided to change his world and immigrate to the United States. And if he hadn't done that, he wouldn't have met my grandmother, and I probably wouldn't be here right now. So for me, I grew up in a family that understands the issues that immigrants face. I have lots of political feelings on the matter, but that's not the important part, as it is how we treat people that come here and how we treat people in general. It's an important issue to me, and I spent some time speaking with my son about. He's more conservative than I am, and I made the poor kid sit and listen to what was essentially an American history class the other day on our lunch hour, saying about our individual rights, civil rights, make us unique amongst nations in the world that ever wrote that sort of thing down, and said that we have these rights given to us as we were created. that we have individual civil rights as a virtue of being human, not of being an American, and that everybody has them, and our job is to protect them. So this is an important issue for me. It's not our job as a city council to deal with legal and illegal immigration, thank goodness. And we should not be having that debate at this table because it's not our job. But it's an important issue to me. I'll support the motion for the sake of having a further discussion, but the budgetary issues are my strongest concern. Thank you.
Councilor Krasinski.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Councilor Leach, for making this motion and bringing this up and moving this forward. To clarify, any budgetary impacts would be discussed at a later date as after we've had a chance to research needs and look at the funding and all those sort of pieces. Is that correct?
Yes, and we will be speaking about the supplemental budget here in just a few minutes. And we'll bring it back up.
And thank you again for bringing this up.
Councilor Evans. Oh, no. Councilor Ye.
Thank you. So first, I want to thank Councilor Clark for what you said. I think those are really important things for us to keep in mind. And like I said at a few meetings ago, we all have an immigration story, and I appreciate learning yours. I think that helps us all when we're able to understand each other better. Thank you, Councilor Leach, for bringing this forward. I think it's an important thing for us to be doing at an important time. And personally, I think having funding attached to it is one of the most important things about what you're doing today, because making some statement about our values or, you know, how we would like our community to be is important. But when we put our money behind our values and create a way to make real impact on our community, I think that's the role of government. And it's not our role to be dealing with immigration and border control, but it is our role to look out for our citizens and how we can support them in their lives, especially during a difficult time. So thank you so much for doing the work to get us here today.
Councilor Zelenka.
Yeah, thank you. I too am a second and third generation of immigrants. And I have been just abhorred by the actions of ICE in our community and around the country, acting like third world dictatorships act. I think it's just unbelievable, and that we're allowing this to occur in our country. And when ICE kidnaps the breadwinner of a family, it puts that family in dire straits financially, without the ability to potentially pay for rent or pay for food for their children to put on the table. And we should do whatever we can to make that a humanitarian issue, which it really is. So thank you, Councilor Leach, for bringing this motion forward.
Councilor Keating.
Thank you, Mayor. Reiterating appreciation for Councilor Leach and for all the councilors who've chimed in. And Councilor Clark, thank you for sharing your story as well. While immigration may not be our job as enumerated by our charter, when a family or the breadwinners of a family are abducted on the streets of Eugene, right across from a fire station, just right around the corner from the post office, selling tamales, and their tamale cart is left behind as a reminder that they were indeed abducted, we have a role and a responsibility to speak out against such an atrocity, against such an abduction, against such a kidnapping, and condemn masked agents for terrorizing our community. From my vantage point, I represent persons who voted for me and persons who didn't vote for me, and persons who couldn't vote for me. For whatever reason, their age, their immigration status, religious reasons, etc. So from my vantage point, I have a fundamental responsibility to speak out against said atrocities and support such a thoughtful motion. My only criticism or question Counselor Leach is it's not enough, unfortunately. And we've talked offline. Can we get an opinion either from legal counsel or can the manager weigh in about the access to future dollars should, unfortunately, fortunately, if this measure or this motion passes, if there are community members who are working with not-for-profit organizations who are helping with legal fund or housing support services, et cetera, for families who are broken up by these atrocities, if we need to give or if we need to contribute more to those not-for-profit organizations, what's that mechanism and where would those dollars come from?
As I understand it, there's going to be a motion as part of the supplemental budget, and I think I should answer it during that portion if you're okay with that.
Thank you. Copy that. This motion's just to explore. Thank you, Councilor Leach. I fully support the motion and the effort. Thank you.
Councillor Clark?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make sure I understood the motion properly. That this is to ask the mayor to return to us, or I mean, excuse me, the manager to return to us with further information on the possibility of, for further discussion by council. Yes?
I can repeat the full motion if you would like.
Thank you, Councillor.
I was just looking for clarification, that's all.
It's to explore potential funding needs of local nonprofit agencies assisting impacted immigrant communities and to work with the council leadership to draft a resolution to be presented to council and before it gets put on the agenda.
Thank you.
Seeing no additional discussion, I'll now take a vote for this motion. All in favor, please lock in your votes on the consoles in front of you. And the motion passes by a vote of 8-0. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Council leadership, for your commitment to gathering this information and developing that resolution. Continuing on with our committee reports and items of interest, I'm going to return to the queue and have Councillor Groves as next in the queue.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm the chair of our Intergovernmental Relations Committee, and I have a report from this month's meeting. The IGR committee met on Wednesday, December 3rd. The committee approved both the 2026 Oregon State Priorities Document and the 2026 State and Federal Policy Document. As is the practice for these guiding documents, the IGR committee provides input and guidance in the development of draft documents, approving them before bringing them to the full City Council for review, discussion, and action. The IGR policy and priorities City Council work session is scheduled to take place on Wednesday, January 21st. Additionally, the IGR manager provided a preview of recommended Priority 1 bills that the city will be monitoring and providing input on during the upcoming Oregon Legislature short session, which starts on February 2nd. The IGR manager will present an updated list of Priority 1 bills during the January 21st work session for Council's awareness. Current items on the list include repeal of House Bill 3115, which is voluntary annexation within an existing UGB, threats to public officials, automatic license plate reader regulations, autonomous vehicle regulations, economic development and infrastructure investments, revisions to the transient lodging tax program, and a ban on speculative ticketing practices. Please let your IGR committee members, myself, Councilor Evans, and Councilor Ye, or Mayor Knutson, the city manager or IGR manager, know if you have any input or questions to follow up on. Additionally, I'd like to take this opportunity while I still have some time left. This is our city manager, Sarah Mederi's last night here at a council meeting. I just wanted to thank you for your many years of service. Sarah, I've known you for over 25 years, dating back to my time in the fire department. It's been a pleasure to watch you develop and grow. And what a lot of people in the community don't get to see is the integrity you actually bring to the job. And I appreciated that. I always have. I also appreciate your ability to forge and maintain relationships that are key to getting the work done. And I wish you the absolute best in retirement and hope you can get that fly line in the water. Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Keating.
Thank you, Mayor. Similar to Council Vice President, I want to kick off my comments today thanking the Deputy Chief Sean Adams, Chief Chris Skinner, and Manager Sarah Maderi for terminating the city's contract with Flock on Saturday. Thank you. And thank you to the multitudes of community members who have come on these Monday evenings sharing your views, to the multitude of community members who have emailed council. Your expertise and your observations are so greatly appreciated. Thank you. I want to thank Councilors Leach and Ye for participating in a robust conversation with Hillsborough Mayor Beach Pace about Hillsborough's actions they have taken and how those might inform us here in Eugene in this, as I would frame it, state of urgency or state of emergency. Just Saturday, I had the opportunity to present alongside Speaker Julie Fahey and Senator Floyd Przonski at a packed audience, a well-attended ACLU community town hall. And the conversation was as sobering as it was spirited. So I just want to thank our legislative leaders and attendees, and of course the ACLU for organizing such an important conversation. And finally, Mayor, I want to double down my gratitude to someone who I will miss so greatly. Yet I know you're not going anywhere, although there's lots of travel ahead, but you won't be sitting in the seat you're sitting now, or steering this great ship that is the city of Eugene. Sarah, Ship, I will miss your presence, your expertise, your vision, your positive attitude, your collaborative spirit, your outlook, your observations, your sense of humor, your integrity, and your get-it-done attitude. You have made me a better public servant, and you have made this city a greater community. Thank you, Sarah Maderi.
City Manager, I'm going to hand it over to you at this point in the queue, unless you would be willing to
I'll
wait
go to
till the
the
end.
end.
Thank you. Councilor Zelenka.
Yeah, thank you, City Manager Maderi and Chief Skinner, for canceling the Flock contract. I think that was overdue, and not an easy one to come by on your accounts, but I fully support that. And just let people know, working on a work session poll for council mass surveillance policy with a couple other councilors, Leach and Ye. Sarah, thank you for your service to the city. In dog years. As I said earlier, the city of Eugene, under your leadership, has really shined and has become a very effective and efficient organization. I think the taxpayers of Eugene are very well served by what you have done here and what the whole city has done in terms of getting really good value for the taxpayer dollars that they spend. Thank you for all that, and once you've perfected the art of doing nothing, I expect you to come back to council and let us know how to do that.
Councilor Ye.
Thank you. So Sarah, thank you. I can tell you we're embarrassing you, but that's okay. Thank you. So just for being willing to take on this challenge. I feel like you probably deserved a heads up about what the world had in store for you when you took the job, but that's not how life works. All of us are fortunate if we find ourselves in the right place at the right time with skills and experiences that let us have the opportunity to make a difference. And I think that's what happened when you were hired into this position. I can't imagine the last years doing all of this without you in that seat, not just for the work you did, but for the team that you built to support you, which is not something everyone can do. So I hope whatever the next step for you is, like, your next, I wish I could use one of your wonderful base camp metaphors, but I'm not that smart. Whatever that is, I hope it's enjoyable. I hope it ignites all of your passions, and you have great snacks. And I know whoever that is that you devote your time to will benefit from you being there. And we're gonna miss having you here. But
Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. I saw Councilor Leach on there first. I thought,
Oh, I'm so sorry. I moved her to the bottom because we'll be doing a second round for her to come back. Go ahead.
okay. I want to say a great big thank you to John Reese. I know that sounds funny, but I remember the first time while he was city manager, and he said, I'm going to bring in an assistant city manager, and we were having lunch. She works in the parks department, and, I said, are you high? Because I thought he was nuts the way he was describing this person, and said, no, she's perfect, and you guys are going to, she's a gem that's been sitting there working for us for so long, and everybody's going to know it pretty soon. And it turns out he was 1,000% right. And he couldn't have made a better decision then, and the council couldn't have made a better decision when times were much more challenging to make you full-time city manager. And I truly believe that the people in our community will never know how lucky they were to have you at the helm through some of the most difficult times that the city had going. And everybody didn't always know about it. Everybody knew about COVID and riots downtown and all kinds of things that went on. But they didn't see all of the ways that you helped make this a so much better community for all of us. And we're all so much better for your effort and your work. And you will be terribly missed, my sister. But I hope we can count on checking in with you once in a while to just make sure we're not screwing it up too bad. But I wish you the very best in your next chapter, and thank you so much for what you've done for our community.
Councillor Evans.
Thanks, Mayor. Well, Sarah, if you remember when we hired you for this job and John Reese mentored you all the way up through that process, that at the time I was not thrilled with the process of how we chose you. I thought we skipped a few steps. But I think I know we made the right decision in hiring you. And in addition to that, I remember us having a conversation after that you said, if I didn't vote for you, you wouldn't have taken the job. So I'm glad I voted for you. I'm glad you took the job. You've done an outstanding job. And personally, I appreciate your words of support and encouragement for my daughter. Because she's gone through a lot of difficult times in her maturation process. And your words of support and genuine interest in her maturation and development have meant a great deal to both her and to our family. So thank you for that. My daughter continues to grapple with being a 20-year-old, and it's not easy these days. It wasn't easy when I was 20 either, but I didn't have the distractions that she does. So, again, I wish you well in your retirement. I don't believe you're really retiring, but, like they say, old soldiers don't die, they just fade away. And you're not fading away. And you're not dying. So you're going to be around for a long, long time. And I appreciate it. And I appreciate you.
Councilor Leach.
Thank you. This is the first, second round on an items of interest, but yes, echoing just my appreciation for you, Sarah. When I came in, I think it was our first evaluation for you, and it really struck me that no matter how diverse of opinions that we all have up here, sometimes the one thread was so clear that everyone just respected you and trusted you to do an incredible job, and that really helped my coming into council, and to also just respect and trust you too. And over time, that has just developed so naturally. And every time I would go out into the community, into the League of Oregon Cities or anything, everyone would say, "Oh my gosh, you have the best city manager," and I agree. Then last year, I believe, a lot of people on this council, they were saying, when you're city manager, when you're old and gray, because you're never going to retire. I think we're all so sad, but also so excited for you and your next steps in your journey. And mentioning your evaluations, not all of you are going to know this, but Sarah likes to make playlists for us that wrap up a year of life in the city of Eugene. And as going away, I've made you a playlist that I will send you in a few days after your last day. And just to wrap up my experience with you. And so I hope that you enjoy your last public comment time, and we will see you again.
Add myself briefly to the queue before we hand this off to you, City Manager, for your items of interest. But I also just want to say a few things publicly, and I know there'll be another opportunity later this week to say more. But you have been a really extraordinary leader for our community and for this organization. You have been an extraordinary colleague, and you've also built an exceptional team. And when you shared the news with me last winter emerging spring of your plans to retire at the end of this year, there was a lot going on. And I think the first thing that I said was, well, congratulations, and I'm happy for you. But the second thing that I said, and what I was feeling in that same moment, was I just wish I was going to have more time to work with you as the mayor of Eugene, because the way that you have led our city's administrative work and implemented the policies that this body puts in place, the way that you work with our partners, the way that you cultivate leadership within this community, and that you are so fun to work with while you're doing that, even when the work is really hard and when the work is very serious. I appreciate it greatly. And I know that we will have an exceptional city manager following in your footsteps, and that the trajectory of the city of Eugene is incredibly positive. That has also a lot to do with the contributions that you've made and the course that you've set us on. So I just wanted to say publicly, and in our evening with so many of the public here together, how appreciated you are. Of course, how much we will miss you, but also how grateful we are for the years of work that you've dedicated to this city and to every single person who's had the opportunity to invest their life and dreams here. So thank you. And City Manager Mederi, last on the items of interest.
Wow, that's kind of hard to follow. I may actually go over my time because I have an actual more serious item around Flock, but I want to address you and others in the audience before I do that. I want to say thank you. I wasn't anticipating that this was going to happen tonight, and as you all know, it makes me very uncomfortable to get this in front of everybody. But I want to thank you. It's been a privilege to work with each of you. You took a risk on me. Councilor Evans, I meant it. I wouldn't have taken the job. I was very sincere about that, and I was very concerned about your voice at the table and your vote. Every one of you has been amazing to work with, and I've told everybody that's asked anything about this job, that I have a good personal relationship with each one of you. You've been respectful. You've allowed us to do our job. You've let the execs do their jobs. You've trusted us. You've pushed back when you needed to, and you've given me good feedback along the way on how to be a better city manager. So I think we're all better for that relationship. I want to thank the executive team who actually does a lot of the work that you're thanking me for. There's a lot of people in the organization that are doing excellent work every day, including the CMO staff that are here supporting this. I don't get a lot of opportunities to thank you. Rosa, Cherish, Katie, Brooke, thank you for your work supporting us. Elle, our 2 assistant city managers, and I want to thank our EPD folks in the back that are also here keeping us safe. To the community that is here, I know that if you're here, you're not always here because you're happy with what's happening at the city, so I'm sure that this wasn't your favorite part of the public forum. I want you to know I've listened to you, I've learned from you, and I've been sitting in this seat or in the audience where they are for the last 17 years, listening to most Monday night forums, and I think it is the essence of what makes Eugene unique and different and special, that you come when you need to. And I know that's not easy, and I thank you too. Councilor Leach, I have another playlist for you too. So you'll get your final playlist as well. I'm still working through, am I going to make them laugh or cry, or maybe both? With that, I do want to give a more formal items of interest. There's been some questions. I know there was some thanks that came from the community around the termination of the contract and some questions about if we were going to cover them, remove them, and I just want to read to you actually specifically what was in the termination notice. So the termination notice asked for them to please immediately take the following actions. Remove the flock cameras. Remove all cameras and associated hardware no later than December 12th, 2025. Return the city data. Cooperate with the City of Eugene staff to provide for the return of any existing customer data, customer-generated data, and anonymized data in the possession of Flock Group no later than December 12th, 2025. Delete the city data. After making provisions for the return of city data, immediately delete any and all copies of customer data, customer-generated data, and anonymized data no later than December 17th, 2025. Refund advance costs. Cooperate with City of Eugene staff to determine the appropriate prorated refund for ALPR contract costs already paid by the City of Eugene no later than December 12th, 2025, and issue the applicable prorated refund no later than December 17th, 2025. I have not received a response to this, nor do I know if it's possible. I'm not inclined to cover the cameras because that suggests that they can stay longer, and I'd actually like them to be removed. So I just wanted to read that to you. This is in no way a statement against ALPR for me. I still believe it is technology we should consider, and I'm glad you're having a work session about that and other policies. It is a statement about our experience with the Flock Company. And with that, thank you, and look forward to the rest of the night.
Thank you all. With that, Councilor Groves, am I missing? Sorry, thank you, Councilor Groves. Sorry, did not.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want, do we know what the cost will be for paying back any portion of the grant, or is that still being figured out?
We're still working on that.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. This concludes our second agenda item, committee reports and items of interest. And from this point forward in our agenda this evening, Council President Evans will be presiding over the remainder of this meeting, and I will pass him the gavel.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 3 in our agenda, and I will now turn to the city manager to introduce our third agenda item.
provides an opportunity for the City Council to receive public input on the city's first supplemental budget for the 2025-2027 biennium. The first supplemental budget reconciles beginning working capital, capital carryover, and the reserve for encumbrances based on actuals from the prior fiscal year. It also reappropriates funds for projects that began but were not completed and includes other unanticipated changes and appropriations for the current biennium. This includes making an investment of $8 million in the PERS Employer Incentive Fund to receive $2 million in matching funds from the state and reduce our PERS rate over the next 6 years. After the proposed supplemental budget actions, the reserve for revenue shortfall will total $17.1 million, or 3.6% of general fund expenditures, which is below the 4% target level. The Budget Committee met on December 3rd to review the proposed supplemental budget and received an update on the city's financial condition. Approval is requested this evening to authorize the necessary legal appropriations, and staff are here and available to answer any questions. Back to you.
Any questions from council?
Public hearing.
We got a public hearing coming up, so where's our list of speakers? Okay. Hey, Cherish, you want to take over there?
Thank you, Counselor. I will announce two speakers' names at a time. When you're called to speak, please state your name and your ward or neighborhood, if known, before beginning your comments. When you are announced as the next speaker, please move to the seat in the front row designated for the next speaker. When it is your turn, you may come to the podium. Please leave any bags you may have with you at your seat. If you have documents to give counsel, please place them in the basket near the podium. If you are online for this hearing, I will allow you to speak. As opposed to promoting you to a panelist. You will have 2.5 minutes to speak. The timer will flash red when you have 15 seconds remaining to speak. Your microphone will be muted at the 2.5-minute mark. Please note that use of profanity is prohibited, and any instances of profanity will result in immediate termination of speaking privileges. Our first speakers are Tim Black, followed by John Borofsky.
Hi, Tim Black, Ward 2. I'm here tonight on behalf of St. Vincent de Paul of Lane County. Appreciate this opportunity to comment on the supplemental budget. Changes in the federal budget and, of course, reductions in state budget have made it that much harder for you, for the county, for us, for all of our community partners to do our work in supporting our most vulnerable neighbors. The supplemental budget does have one-time funds for homeless services. Thank you. We appreciate that bridge funding, the proposed funding. I think it's very important to protect the shelter beds that we do have, even with the state cuts. And for us, that means the overnight parking program and 310 Garfield. These are city-supported St. Vincent de Paul programs for people who depend on their vehicles for shelter. I know you know this, but these budgets, there are real people behind these numbers, real lives, and every dollar matters. So we appreciate your support, your attention to this, and we know that whatever happens next year, we hope this is one time, but there are more questions than there are answers right now. We'll be right there working with you to make sure that we fulfill our mission, helping one person, one family, one day and one cold night at a time. So thank you. And Sarah, congratulations and thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Our next speakers are John Borofsky, followed by Ty Pruce Zimmerman.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City Manager. John Borofsky, Ward 3. Just a couple of things that I'd like to poke through and bring your attention to in this supplemental budget. You know, it's not just the general fund that is being adjusted in the supplemental budget. There's several funds. So there's a couple that have things that's piqued my interest. In Fund 340, the Transportation Capital Fund, there's an increase of $150,000 for local street repairs and $150,000 more for slurry seals. And if you don't know what slurry seals are, it's a way that we are helping our neighborhood unimproved streets be better. They're not eligible. A lot of those streets aren't eligible for bond funding, or a slurry seal isn't eligible for bond funding because it's not supposed to last more than 7 years, which is what you need for capital bond funding. But I have an experience in my neighborhood. In 2008, the road up to Hendricks Park, Summit Drive, was in terrible shape. They did a slurry seal on that. It's still in great shape 17 years later. So that's one of the things that I'm excited about. There's also a reacquisition of some grant money for a study on the Weir Dam in the Willamette River and the danger that poses, $88,000. I know that's an interest of a lot of people in our community. It's way down in the Fund 539, the Stormwater Utility Fund, but it's an important thing to our community. And then the last thing that I'm really excited about is the fact that we're paying forward on our PERS bond. We're getting a 25% rebate, basically, by buying down our PERS liabilities. And anytime you can get a 25% on any kind of return, you need to take it, especially on a liability that is so great to all of our funds. It's not just the general fund that gets hit by PERS. Every one of the funds that has an employee is paying into this to help offset that. So those are about 3 of the things that I'm really excited about in this supplemental budget, and I encourage you to pass it. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Our next speakers are Ty Pruce Zimmerman, followed by Brittany Quick-Warner.
Good evening, Council and City Manager Maderi. I'm Ty Pruce Zimmerman, Ward 6, here as just a citizen member commenting on the supplemental budget, so call this entering my Borofsky era. I share John's admiration for paying down our PERS liabilities in this budget, and just overall watching the meeting last week, my general thoughts about the way this was approached is that it is both responsive and responsible. I would expect no less. And so in terms of what's in the supplemental budget document so far, my recommendation and encouragement is to pass it. I do want to take a moment to say I'm sorry, Sarah, that I wasn't able to be there last Wednesday. I was homesick. I had every intention of being present at every single budget committee meeting that you presided over as city manager. Unfortunately, one virus stopped that. I had to watch from home instead, but I was definitely there with you in spirit, and I really appreciate through all my years on the committee that all the time that we were there together, I've appreciated your leadership so very, very much, and I really want to emphasize that the city's going to miss you. I want to take my remaining time to speak to a motion I'm anticipating coming, and I don't know enough details to speak in detail, but from what it sounds like is going to be discussed after the hearing, I just want to point out that through all the years that I led the budget committee, I always opened every meeting with the reminder that not everyone in our community is able to participate in our proceedings in the same way that those of us here are privileged to do so. And as I always emphasize in many cases, the people who are least able to attend are those who may be most impacted. And I don't think there's any stronger example of that than someone who doesn't feel safe trying to attend the meeting because they're afraid they may be abducted if they leave their house. So please keep that piece in mind as you deliberate on upcoming motions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ty. Our next speakers are Brittany Quick-Warner, followed by Stefan Strack. Brittany, you should be able to speak now.
Great. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, wonderful. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Brittany Quick-Warner, President and CEO of the Eugene Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm here tonight, unfortunately, virtually because, like Ty mentioned last week, I'm homesick tonight, but I didn't want to miss a chance to speak in support of the supplemental budget. I think this budget reflects responsible stewardship. It also reinforces an important truth we've seen through the fire fee service discussion, the budget work we've taken on over this last year together, and the technical advisory group's work tonight, that Eugene's long-term stability depends on growing our economic foundation. The revenues, especially property tax collections and assessed values, came in slightly lower than projected. And while challenging, it's clarifying. It reminds us that we can't rely on the same narrow revenue base to meet all of our community needs. The path forward is expanding the pie through business growth, job creation, and housing production, so we can sustainably fund all of these services that are reflected here in this budget. I think we have good momentum with that. I think the presentation earlier tonight shows that, and we're ready to help partner going forward. I also wanted to take a few moments of my remaining time, which is not nearly enough, to say some words in honor of Sarah Maderi, City Manager, in her final public meeting. Sarah has given more than 30 years to this community, shaping not just policies and programs and budgets like this, but people. She's led through some really serious highs and lows, conflict and celebration, always with steadiness and compassion and a deep commitment to Eugene. For me personally, she has been a collaborator and a mentor and a true friend. We haven't always agreed, and that's part of why I appreciate our friendship most. As Sarah and I both appreciate and respect Brene Brown, she might say that we've rumbled a few times over the years, but always with curiosity and compassion. Sarah listens, she considers, and she creates space for honest dialogues that are grounded in a shared belief that we all want what's best for this community. It's easy to overlook the sheer energy and resilience that it takes to serve in public leadership for as long as she has. But Sarah has carried that responsibility with grace. She builds bridges and elevates conversations, and she's invested in relationships that I know will outlast her tenure here. On behalf of the business community, Sarah and the Chamber and myself, people who care deeply about Eugene, I just want to say thank you for your service, your integrity, and your unwavering dedication to Eugene. We're better because of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brittany. Our next and final speaker for this first topic is Stefan Streck.
Righteous Word, City Council, and workers of the City of Eugene. Thank you so much for taking the time tonight to consider any opportunity to address the budget for our upcoming next few years. There's been some pretty serious issues with cost overruns and people who work too hard not getting nearly what they deserve from this city. Was just thinking to myself, you know, it's interesting that Sarah is leaving us, and it's going to be exciting to see who her replacement is. Like to mention a suggestion, which I actually got from Sarah herself. The one time that we spoke in the 10 years that I've been coming down here to city meetings, actually just passing by on the street, was a great day. We're out for some coffee, and Sarah said, "Oh, hey, Stefan, nice to see you. I thought you lived in a cave underneath the city council chambers." And I was like, oh, that's really funny, but actually it's not a bad idea. You know, there's a precedent that's been set by other cities with notable figures who have underground layers which serve the public benefit. Cities such as Gotham, population 12 million. And honestly, considering that so much money gets spent on worthless ideas with nothing to show for it, I think that an underground layer to, you know, serve everybody actually wouldn't be such a bad idea. We could have some sort of cave down there with Olympic-sized swimming pool, jacuzzi, Michelin chef for the butler. You know, library. Her idea was to close the library this past year, so we may as well put a library down there. It'd be pretty nice. And honestly, I don't think anyone would notice with the budget issues, considering that there's never been an audit. I think this could sail right past the budget committee and honestly be something that people from all over the world could visit. You know, just rub the statue of me in the corner and be like, oh man, these people have some great ideas. So thank you, Sarah. That was really funny. And I hope your Spotify playlist is fantastic to really get the mood going. Righteous Word. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Stefan. Council President, that was our final speaker for the first topic.
Okay, thank you. I now close the public hearing. Are there any questions or comments from City Council? Councilor Zelenka.
Yeah, just to clarify for the public record, the audit, the city budget is audited every year by an independent third-party accounting firm, and over my 29 budgets, it's always been a clean audit, and which means that the city of Eugene meets the highest standard for accountability and fiscal accountability.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from council? If there are no questions from council, I will now turn to the council vice president to put forward a motion.
I move to adopt a resolution adopting a supplemental budget, making appropriations for the City of Eugene for the biennium beginning July 1, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2027.
Second.
Any further discussion from council?
Council President, I would like to move to amend the motion. Move to amend the supplemental budget to add $50,000 to council contingency, taking the funds from reserve for revenue shortfall. And I'm happy to speak to that.
Second.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. In the queue is Councilor Clark to respond to the motion. Councilor Clark?
I thought she was going to speak to it first when she said that.
I would be happy to speak to it. Yeah, thank you.
Go ahead, Councilor Leach.
Okay, just a little bit ago, we passed a motion unanimously. Thank you so much to my colleagues to draft a resolution acknowledging the crisis of federal agents arresting, detaining, and deporting residents of our city without proper due process. Part of that motion was to explore funding needs of agencies that are supporting the families of people that are taken, and I'm asking to put $50,000 in funds into our council contingency so that when that investigation is done, we will be able to designate the funding to this effort. We will be able to move quickly and nimbly and be able to deploy that funding to support urgent needs that have a direct connection to City of Eugene services, including helping families whose primary income earner was taken to prevent them from becoming unhoused. It could go to waiving towing fees for those vehicles that are left behind, and any number of other activities that could directly support families and prevent us from spending additional money and overall impact our services. So I thank you all for your consideration on this matter. I do want to point out that if that resolution does end up not being passed, or if there are changes made to that resolution, that money in council contingency can go back into the reserves. So I just want to put that out there, Councilor Clark.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Clark?
That was going to be my question to the manager, because I thought this was coming back to us in the form of information rather than before we had a discussion on it. And I want to understand the ramifications of my vote in this.
Yeah, let me clarify that. So the previous motion directed the work for staff to investigate and for the resolution to be drafted that you will make a decision about in January, I would assume. This motion simply allocates some one-time dollars to your council contingency fund, and that fund is there for things like voter pamphlets, some council travel, and you have used that fund in the past to do other similar efforts to support humanitarian crises. So when you allocate that money there, you have not determined where you're going to spend it yet. That will come later. There'll need to be another action to move that money from contingency to whatever it is you are doing.
What's been the nature of council contingency over the last couple of years? Haven't we, under tight budget constrictions,
yeah, I mean,
pretty
you
much
are under a
eliminated
very
it?
tight budget, and we have moved some expenses into council contingency that used to be paid out of other sources as some of those budget restrictions. So this $50,000 will be added in, and we'll give you that flexibility. At any future date, we typically have supplemental budgets. The larger ones are in December. We typically have them in June. You can actually have them at any time. So if there's something that comes up and you need to replenish it or have another discussion, you can have another supplemental budget. I thought this gave flexibility to you, and if you don't find the right place to spend it, you don't have to. If you do, you can.
Thank you.
$50,000 is doable in a one-time. I am concerned, and I'll just share that this is not a 6-week crisis. This could be a multi-year crisis, and we are facing pretty tight financial constraints.
Well, and that's my point is I try, because I've learned from you over time a couple of things. One of them is to be very specific about the wording of what we're doing. And I get that there's broader implications to it. But if we're simply making space in the budget to say, we're going to call this council contingency, and what we do with that money at some future point may, in fact, end up being put it back into city services in some other way. Okay, I get that. I could probably vote in favor of that. But we increased everybody's eWeb bills by 18% this year and made everybody pay for it whether they like it or not, because we said that the city's service level couldn't be cut any further. And there are an awful lot of people who can't afford that, especially right now at Christmas and when it gets cold. There's an awful lot of people who that's an economic hardship for. And from what we've learned this last week, the budget problem is getting worse, not better, short term. So I know we're going to have the conversation about the authority to spend it or not later. And I'll look forward to that. And I could probably vote in favor of creating the opportunity for it, which is all we're doing right now. But it concerns me, and I'm going to want to ask some real serious questions before we get to whether or not we spend it under the current city's budget conditions. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Groves.
Thank you, Council President. Most of my questions were answered with your response, but I want to be very deliberate in how we go about this. I mean, I would like to know where it's coming from, and then definitely before we spend it, where it's going. I agree with everything Councilor Clark said. I hear from people all the time that they just can't afford all the taxes and fees, and it's up and up and up. And we also, not everybody is on the same page in our community. We've got a variety of opinions out there, and it's our responsibility to represent everybody. You know, at the same time, I can't overlook the humanitarian nature of this, and what's going on is a concern. So I'm kind of torn on this. It's not that I'm against money going to help people who are in need, who've lost a breadwinner. I personally think that should be private donations, but you know, I can see where this is going. I will support this for now, but I want a lot more information about where it's going, what the need is, how the money's going to be utilized, what the overhead costs are, before we pull the spend lever. It's real easy to spend money, but it's harder to be reserve and make sure that we've got what we need to run city operations. Thank you.
Councilor Kuczynski.
Oh, I was just going to answer that question really briefly. So if I have this number right, where the money is coming from is we will be decreasing the amount going into the reserve for revenue shortfall. So instead of 1.586444 million, it'll be 1.536444.
And we're already below targets, correct?
We're just below targets, yep, 3.6.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilor Kuczynski.
Yes, thank you. And thank you again, Councilor Leach, for the motion and for the work on this. When I look, I share many concerns about our budget. And when I look at the amount of money that we're talking about putting in this contingency, it is a very, very, very small amount when you compare to the overall amount of our budget. This $50,000 is not going to make or break the budget. If we were talking about like this every week, that's a different story. But this, and I think it's absolutely necessary that we be able to have this funding available. We are seeing on multiple different fronts action from the federal government that is both actively harming our communities and actively making our budget situation worse. And in some of those cases, it is a very direct making our budget situation worse by withholding grants or saying they're not going to give grants. In other cases, it is an indirect making our budget worse by stopping services or preventing services that now the city is going to have to, city, state, other partners are going to have to help step up to help meet those needs. And so I think that as we're having our budget conversations and we're having our priorities conversations, one of the things that we need to keep in mind is that some of the resources and community needs that were previously met by other partners aren't being met by other partners anymore, and how do we as a city respond to that? So I think, Councilor Leach, thank you again for making the motion. I'm happy to support it, knowing that that money will be available once we have determined the best way to spend it. So thank you.
Round two, Councilor Clark.
Thank you, sir. Manager, are you aware of any community in our country where resolutions of a nature that we're talking about have resulted in, I know that there have been changes in the language around grant funding, but I'm wondering if you are aware of any penalty or any negative consequence financially that any community has received from the federal government as a result of the political argument?
I'll speak to that. The resolution hasn't been written yet. And so as my office has been tracking this as we've been part of lawsuits and also just generally been tracking how the grant funding has been working and how the federal government has been responding to things. So I would expect that I'll be reviewing anything that's drafted and probably having a hand in helping draft that. So we'll be able to guard against issues such as that.
Thanks. I'm just interested. I'm interested in doing the right thing, but I'm also interested in not starting a fight that costs us more as time goes on. So, thanks.
I will now take a vote on the amendment to the motion. Councilors, lock in your vote. And we have 8-0 to support the amendment to the motion. Now we'll go back to the main motion. And councilors, I will take your votes on the main motion. Can we lock?
Mr. President, point of order. Could we have the main motion read one more time, please?
Yes.
Move to adopt a resolution adopting a supplemental budget, making appropriations for the City of Eugene for the biennium beginning July 1, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2027.
Okay. As amended.
As amended.
Thank you.
Okay. So now we're going to take a vote on the main motion as amended. Everyone lock in your votes. Here we go. Okay, motion passes 8-0. All right, let's move on. Okay. Thank you. Now I close the December 8th, 2025 council meeting and call the December 8th, 2025 Urban Renewal Agency meeting to order. Now I'll turn to the agency director to introduce our topic. Topic number 4.
Thank you. This public hearing provides an opportunity for the agency board to receive public input on the Urban Renewal Agency's first supplemental budget of the 2025-2027 biennium. This URA supplemental budget reconciles beginning working capital, capital carryover, and the reserve for encumbrances based on actuals from the prior fiscal year. In addition, $1.2 million is allocated for Riverfront District projects, including $1 million to support redevelopment of the steam plant and $180,000 to support affordable housing development in Parcel 2. These actions align the budget with previous agency board direction. Beginning in FY26, the development teams for both projects will conduct site investigation and pre-development activities, which can be reimbursed using urban renewal funds. Approval is requested this evening to authorize the necessary legal appropriations. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, our agency director. I now open the public hearing. Staff, can you please share a list of speakers on the screen and announce the first speaker?
Thank you, Council President. We have 2 speakers, so I will condense my spiel. You will have 2.5 minutes to speak. The timer will flash red when you have 15 seconds remaining to speak. Your microphone will be muted at the 2.5-minute mark. Our 2 speakers are John Borofsky, followed by Stefan Streck.
Thank you, City Council, Mayor, City Manager. Oh, Mayor's gone. Sorry. Bye, Mayor. The supplemental budget, I encourage you to pass it. It's doing good things. The budget process as a whole is a very complicated issue. And I was lucky enough to be on the Budget Committee for 7 years back in the mid-2000s, starting in 2007. And one of the things that I was able to have availed to me was a budget buddy. I got budget buddies to help us learn how this process works. I was lucky enough to have Sarah Maderi as my budget buddy back then when I was on the Budget Committee, and to this day, we're still budget buddies. I just wanted to take this time to thank her for helping me to shepherd through the budget process, as well as many other things. A lot of things have been said about her tonight. I think the way I'll leave it is the easiest way is that she's leaving the city better than when she got here. So thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, John. Our next speaker is Stefan Streck.
Thank you, City Council. My name is Stefan Streck, and I'm pleased to be here about the urban renewal supplementary budget. And I am once again shocked and amazed that such a terrible idea gets any traction at a time when the city budget is already in the red by millions of dollars. The steam plant project is a complete sham, and it's a travesty that a building on prime valuable property would be sold for $1, which is less than the value of an average Pokemon card. And then it would be even like mildly humored that these same people would turn around and just be like, hey guys, sorry, we're actually broke. Can you give us $1 million to build something on this land that we just bought for $1 a few years ago? It's shocking because, I mean, you know, it's kind of like opening a restaurant and then paying people to eat your food, which really seems like a questionable business strategy. I really think that there might be better options. For example, you could find someone who can actually afford to build something there and do business with them, because precedent repeats itself, like how on 11th and Willamette, it's being proposed to buy the old LCC building but they're also going to need millions of dollars to do that project, which is really silly. And the land actually increases in value over time, as some of you might know. But it doesn't just have to be sold just because it looks not that great right now. You could maybe find people who have money to build things because they're successful business people. You can rent them the land for long-term leases. And this is actually very common in most places. And I highly suggest you consider that option. So once again, urban renewal, it's a scam. This is wrong. Please try and do better. And it shouldn't be that hard to come to that conclusion because you're all fairly intelligent people, so far as I can see. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. Council President, that was our final speaker for this topic.
Thank you. I now close the public hearing. Are there any questions or comments from the agency board? Councilor Leach.
Thank you, Council President. Just a small reminder to everyone that a city budget cannot be in the red by millions of dollars. A city budget must be balanced every single year. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from council or questions from the agency board? I'm sorry, we're in the agency now. I will turn to the council, to the agency president to put forward a motion.
I move to adopt a resolution adopting a supplemental budget, making appropriations for the Urban Renewal Agency of the City of Eugene for the biennium beginning July 1, 2025, and ending June 30th, 2027.
Second.
Any further discussion from the agency board? I will now take a vote on this motion. Councilors, please lock in your vote on the tablets in front of you. Oh, okay. Your stuff isn't working over there, Counselor. Having a bad day. It's okay. We'll work with you on it. So our vote is 8-0 in favor of the motion. The motion passes. Thank you. I now close the December 8th, 2025 Urban Renewal Agency meeting and call the December 8th, 2025 City Council meeting to order. Our fifth agenda item is our consent calendar 1. So, Council Vice President, if there are no questions from council, I'll turn to the Council Vice President. City Manager, go ahead. Sorry.
I actually don't have a comment on consent calendar 1, but I do want to remind you we moved consent calendar 2 to the end of the meeting, and so you'll need to stop a few minutes before 10 to do that.
Got it.
After the public comment. Thanks.
Okay. So if there are no questions from council, I will turn to the Council Vice President to put forward a motion.
Move to approve the items on consent calendar 1.
Second.
Any discussion from council? Not? Lock in your votes. The motion passes 8-0. All right. We're ready to move on to our public. Next item on tonight's agenda is the public comment period. Public comment period is an opportunity for individuals to speak to the City Council on any city-related issues except for those items which have already been heard by a hearings official. Staff, can you please share the list and number of speakers that have signed up to speak by 7:35 p.m. and announce the first speakers? So it looks, how many do we have?
We have 45 speakers signed up this evening, Counselor.
Okay, well, let's get after it. Let's go ahead, Cherish.
Great. I will announce 2 speakers' names at a time. When you are called to speak, please state your name and your ward or neighborhood, if known, before beginning your comments. When you are announced as the next speaker, please move to the seat in the front row designated for the next speaker. When it is your turn, you may come to the podium. Please leave any bags you may have with you at your seat. If you have documents to give council, please place them in the basket near the podium. You will have 2.5 minutes to speak. The timer will flash red when you have 15 seconds remaining to speak. Your microphone will be muted at the 2.5-minute mark.
I'll give it to you this time.
Please note that use of profanity is prohibited, and any instances of profanity will result in immediate termination of speaking privileges. Based on your instructions for consent calendar 2, I'm looking to stop public comment at 9:55, unless I hear different. All right, our first speakers are Cynthia Cannon Poindexter, followed by Lynn Woodrich.
Just a second. I have a request from Councilor Keating to allow former Mayor Venice to speak. She's Is she on
She is on the list. She's number 18.
number 18? Okay.
I think we'll get to her.
Then she will speak in her turn.
Great.
So first two speakers, come on up and go.
Thank you. I am here on behalf of your Human Rights Commission. My name is Cynthia Cannon Poindexter. I am standing next to our chair, Dr. Silky Booker. Every December 10th is Human Rights Day, an international commemoration of the unanimous adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights at the United Nations in 1948, and we are leaving copies for you. This document compiled for the first time what local and national governments must do for and must not do to their residents. The bedrock of this framework is the concept that each and every individual, regardless of status, without exception, has the right to dignity, respect, security, privacy, freedom, and a cultural identity. Human rights are civil, political, economic, social, and cultural. They are innate in and permanent for every human being and designed to protect the most vulnerable among us. Likewise, Eugene's city ordinance on human rights acknowledges the worth of each Eugenian and commits to an inclusive and just community. Alarmingly, at this time, locally, nationally, globally, we are once again experiencing grave violations of our human rights. The people of Eugene have an opportunity on this Human Rights Day to reflect on history, be advocates in the present, and commit to a future where each person is guaranteed the basics needed to sustain life and is treated with dignity and equality on a healthy and peaceful planet. The Eugene Human Rights Commission appreciates your attention to these issues, and we are very grateful for your proclamation for Human Rights Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Our next speakers are Lynn Woodrich, followed by Mark Simons.
My name's Lynn Woodrich. I'm the Active Bethel Community Co-Chair. I've lived in the Bethel area over 30 years. I live in Ward 8. I'm speaking for the Active Bethel Community Board. The public health standards is meant to safeguard the public. Without having it put into place soon, the result can be projects that threaten our air and water quality, undermine climate goals, lower home values, and erode neighborhood livability. The prime examples are the biofuels transfer station and the fuel tank farm location in the Train Song neighborhood. The City Council's direction to the City Manager and Planning Commission was to move forward with code amendments relating to improving coordination with public health agencies. I believe the Part 1 Version 3 option that was presented at the last Planning Commission meeting meets the first goal. Prior to City approval of any development permit for development on property located in the E2, I2, or I3 zones, the applicant shall submit documentation of any and all required permits, and the City shall provide notice of the proposed development to the EPA, DEQ, and LRAPA. I believe there should also be an addition to the version 3 for a box to check that they've communicated with the agencies involved, the date of their meetings, and copies of documentation. To give it a little more teeth, there could be an addition of a requirement to list any sensitive areas, homes, schools, parks, daycares, etc., within a quarter mile of the proposed development if any air, land, and water permits were required. The version 3 option of the public health standards is a good first step with the 2 additions mentioned to approve, but where are we with the study of the health data that's part 2? Are the researchers in Michigan going to come to Eugene to interview the residents who've been impacted by the polluters? We must move quickly so we don't have another J.H. Baxter-type business located near homes, schools, daycares, etc. Public health standards need to be included in our comprehensive plan to help make land use decisions that truly protect our air, water, and neighborhoods. Together, we can make development in our city both responsible and resilient. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Our next speakers are Mark Siemens, followed by Rusty Rexius.
Good evening, City Council. I speak, my name is Mark Siemens. I live in Ward 1, and I speak for the lamenters here who express the collective grief, fear, and anxiety we all hold in a world increasingly ravaged by climate catastrophe.
Can you speak into the microphone, please?
I'll try.
Thank you.
In an attempt to respond to the climate crisis in 2017, the city adopted the Forward-Looking Climate Action Plan 2.0. At that time, the city's greenhouse gas emissions inventory found that over half, 53%, of all of Eugene's emissions came from transportation. The CAP 2.0 report states that as part of the city's commitment to reduce overall greenhouse gas emissions by the year 2030, all businesses, individuals, and others living or working in the city collectively shall reduce the total, not per capita, use of fossil fuels by 50% compared to 2010 usage. Fast forward to 2025, the Amazon consultants filing for a permit with Lane Regional Air Protection Agency state that the facility would generate 2,592 vehicle trips per day. This facility alone appears likely to keep the city from reaching its climate goals. The greenhouse gases produced by Amazon's delivery truck will cause our city's carbon footprint to grow when we should be trying to lower it. The mayor and the city council have claimed that the issuance of a building permit for the Amazon Mega Delivery Center is out of its hands, and it does not appear that anything has been done to try to find a solution to this problem. The city council should insist that development initiatives comply with its own climate action plan. We call on our elected officials and the city staff to keep faith with adopted climate goals. And we oppose the use of our tax dollars to facilitate and enable the climate destruction that this Amazon warehouse will bring. Keep Amazon out of Eugene.
Thank you, Mark. Our next speakers are Rusty Rexius, followed by Deborah McGee.
Good evening, Council. Nice to see you all. I'm here to join the fray. Say thank you to Sarah for what I know is mostly a thankless job. Some of us actually do know how lucky we are. People like me were told not to trust most folks like you, and I suspect folks like you are told not to trust people like me. And unfortunately, that seems to be the way it usually goes. But then someone comes along and basically says, trust me, I dare you. And that's different. Things go different. And they go better, they go way better. And that's what you did. You said, trust me, I dare you. And it went better. I think we met when we were interviewing the eWeb general manager. I don't think you knew what to do with me. I didn't really know what to do with you. But you said it over and over again. You said, trust me. And over again, you've proven yourself to be honest and trustworthy, transparent, and really good at your job. And things have gone a lot better, way better. And our city has been fortunate to have you. We won't be better in your absence. We'll miss you. I'll miss you. And I wish you the very, very, very best wherever next goes. And I leave this with you. Head up, eyes down, ready to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Rusty. Our next speakers are Deborah McGee, followed by Susan Barnhart.
Good evening. My name is Deborah McGee. Eugene has been my hometown for 45 years. Congratulations, Sarah. I've come to understand that because Amazon meets the local legal requirements, it will receive permits from the City of Eugene to build its distribution center. What I don't understand is how the distribution center helps the City of Eugene meet goals stated in the Climate Recovery Ordinance. A few years ago, a number of us in 350 Eugene hopped on the train and went to the Global Climate Action Summit in San Francisco. We heard from mayors, councilors, and staffers who were actually making progress in reducing carbon emissions. Cities like New York, Oakland, and Adelaide, Australia. What they had in common was that every department in their city was a climate department. Everything every department decided had to pass through the lens of meeting the climate goals developed by the climate action plans. They made progress because the goals meant they had to change business as usual. As I understand it, an ordinance is a law passed by the council. Does the planning department know about the climate recovery ordinance? Do they consider it when permitting projects that will affect the stated goals of the CRO? I quote, reducing citywide fossil fuel emissions 50% by 2030. Has anyone calculated how the distribution center will affect carbon emissions in the city? Can one corporation come to our community and blow our carbon emissions beyond the stated goals of our climate recovery ordinance? Does the climate recovery ordinance mean anything? Was it just a hollow promise to the children in our community? We are trying to save ourselves here. The climate is changing, we all know it, and the scientific prediction is that there'll be no snowpack in Oregon in 2040. That is going to be a serious problem for our children and their children. I have heard citizens say that the city should be sued in 2030 for failing to comply with their own law. I don't want the city to be sued. I want the city to comply with the climate recovery ordinance. Enforce the climate recovery ordinance as a basis to deny Amazon, who we all know is a bad neighbor. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Our next speakers are Susan Barnhart, followed by Laura Ray. There's Susan Barnhart in the room. All right, give me a wave if you're Susan. Okay, I will call our next speaker and then call for Susan one more time. Our next speaker is Laura Ray.
Hello, my name is Laura Ray, and I live in Ward 1. I am here today to express my deep concern and fears about the violent crackdown on our immigrant community members. I do not know firsthand what this is like, since I am a white woman with no accent, with an American accent, and with citizenship status, and I have a great amount of privilege. But I do know secondhand what it is like to be terrorized and ripped from your home and family. I am the granddaughter of Jewish survivors of the Holocaust in the Netherlands. I was lucky to know my grandmother, who lived into her 90s, but most of her family was killed in the death camps. During Germany's spread across Europe, restrictions on the freedoms of Jewish people, including my ancestors, were enacted bit by bit over time. 1 month, the Jews had to turn over all of their radios. Then they were banned from public swimming pools. And then they were prohibited from driving or owning bicycles. The list goes on, and as you know, it only worsened. Despite the Nazis' hideous agenda, there was also resistance and survival, which is the reason that I stand before you today. I wish the mayor were here to hear that the local mayor in the small Dutch village where my grandmother and her family lived did not immediately heed the German orders to round up all the Jews in the village. This delay allowed time for my grandmother to flee her hometown by bicycle, and she survived by going into hiding with various courageous resistance members. Most neighbors in the village were supportive of my grandmother's family, inviting them into their bomb shelter and keeping their valuables safe for them when they were forced to leave their home. But one family in the neighborhood supported the Nazis, and they wouldn't allow my grandmother's family to stay safe in that bomb shelter. Many other neighbors likely stayed quiet, allowing the Nazi atrocities to continue. Did they even know most of the atrocities that were happening, since the death camps were many miles away? They certainly knew the oppressive rules that were enacted, and they saw when their Jewish neighbors left, either on their own terms or when they were taken by the Germans. Does any of this sound familiar? I urge you to declare a state of emergency in response to the terror by ICE and to increase funds to support immigrant families.
Thank you, Laura. One last call for Susan Barnhart. All right, our next speakers are Tom Peck, followed by Jeffrey Gordon.
City Council, thank you. My name is Tom Peck. I'm from Ward 1. I'm a proud member of Indivisible. We are the folks who brought you demonstrations across the United States. We did this in coalition with many other progressive groups, but we, I think, really tipped the balance on the last election, pushing many Democrats forward. I want to talk about the Amazon distribution center. I know we're all concerned about jobs. We're concerned about revenue for the city. But I don't think we want this company. They make promises of jobs, but they are in a massive introduction of robotics and mechanized a warehouse. They're using AI. In 2025, they laid off 14,000 employees due to AI and mechanization. We've talked about the pollution and how much carbon emissions they will be emitting. Many cities are beginning to block Amazon. The city of Tucson, Arizona, the city council unanimously said, no, we don't want Amazon. Lewis County, Virginia, blocked Amazon from putting a warehouse in their county. So I really recommend that we turn this down. There are better options than this company. Their data center is used through intelligence to round up immigrants. They are supporting Israel and their genocidal war through their data centers. This is a company we don't want. What I would like to see is there's a growing concern about allowing them in, that we have some sort of community input for approving this or not. And I think there's a growing concern that we don't want this company in our town.
Thank you, Tom. Our next speakers are Jeffrey Gordon, followed by Raina Saffron.
Good evening. Thank you all. I'd like to thank Councilors Leach and Ye for laying the groundwork for a declaration of emergency, and I'm grateful to all of you for your vote on Councilor Leach's motion today. I'm grateful to the Council for pushing forward with applications for the replacement for Cahoots, or the process involved in that. And I'm further grateful to my Councilor, Lindsay Leach, for her hard work looking into the Amazon warehouse project and her actions contributing to the cancellation of the Flock contract. A lot of the important conversations and research happens away from our eyes, so I know there's more hard work I've not recognized. And I respect that our city manager had the courage to correct her mistake. I don't think Chief Skinner deserves any credit, however. We've gone to so many city council and commission meetings, wrote so many letters, did so much research and public records requests. Yet Chief Skinner declared repeatedly, after months of being forcefully educated, that he did not understand the privacy concerns of our community. He admitted no wrongdoing. Instead, he dug in right until Friday when we all saw the surprise Facebook post from the EPD announcing they discovered undisclosed vulnerabilities and abruptly canceled the contract, along with Springfield. What did they discover? Did ICE access our community's data? On behalf of the citizens of Eugene, I demand a thorough explanation of what they found, and I demand a city ALPR policy that restricts any functional data storage and access to in-county storage. A final takeaway from this Flock debacle and the ethical investment policy debacle is that too much authority regarding city policy and expenditures is placed in the hands of the unelected city manager position. Decision-making authority in Eugene should evolve such that the current authority of the city manager should be transferred and distributed to city councilors, or else make the manager position an elected position. Our city staff would remain the glue holding together city operations in any eventuality. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Our next speakers are Raina Saffron, followed by Stan Taylor.
My name is Raina Saffron. I live in Ward 7. Some of my schoolmates haven't been coming to school of fear of ICE. I'm here as an ambassador, here to speak for all my friends and peers who can't speak for themselves, for fear that if they leave their homes, their families could get ripped apart. People have been taken from the streets, taken from their homes, taken while they've just been doing shopping. It's not fair, and it's not right. I stand here before you now as a child. My classmates and I were all still children. We have a right to education, and it shouldn't be because of fear that people aren't coming to school. We shouldn't have to worry why one of our friends is absent from class. We shouldn't have to worry if ICE has abducted some of our friends and taken them to a detention center. If I, as a white child, got taken by masked officers, Eugene would make national news. Please, how can we count on you to protect your constituents? ¿Cómo podemos depender en ti para proteger a tus constituyentes? The Amazon warehouse would also pose a danger to my community. I live near the Northwest Expressway, and the trucks would be traveling on it a lot. The Northwest Expressway is also nearby my school. At recess, we breathing in the fumes from the trucks. It'd be very bad for the environment to have these trucks in Eugene. Do you know how much strain it takes on the environment to have gas and huge Amazon trucks going back and forth with 48-hour shipping? If Eugene doesn't even have a hospital of its own yet, we don't need an Amazon warehouse that stinks up our town. If innocent people are taken off the streets now, what will the world be when my peers are adults? I'm here because the responsibility of this world will come to rest on my generation's shoulders, and if we don't try to take care of our people in our world now, what will they be later? So I'll ask you now, you adults before me, what are you going to do to protect my schoolmates? What are you going to do to protect Eugene? This is our world and my future. Please help me protect it. Thank you.
Thank you, Raina. All right.
Please, you can wave your fingers, no clapping. Okay? Thank you.
Some things you have to clap for.
I hear you, Stan. Go for it.
Hello, my name's Stan Taylor. I am from Ward 1, and I am the leader of Indivisible Eugene Springfield and one of the co-founders of the Activist Coalition of Eugene Springfield. And I'm here today. Well, first I want to say thank you for the work that you did on Flock and helping to move that out of our city. And thank you for the beginnings of the emergency declaration. Those are both courageous things to do. So I'm going to ask you to be courageous again. Now, I cannot believe that you want to make a deal with the devil, literally selling our souls, the city's souls, for so-called jobs and a small addition to the property taxes for our city. When you really begin to deconstruct these arguments, they don't hold up. You know, when you talk about jobs, you've heard already, the jobs will be done by robots, deliveries will be done by drones. This is the future for Amazon. It's what they're bringing to us. And if you look at Amazon jobs, they result in, they're surveilled, they result in large degrees of injuries to their workers and have lots of health problems. The delivery trucks that are on the road for Amazon have 360-degree cameras to record and surveil. Drivers are wearing AI glasses that also surveils not only the driver, but the places that they go. And you talk about tax dollars, but tax dollars are going to total perhaps $1 million to $1.5 million, less than 1 to 2%, or between 1 and 2% of Eugene's budget. These are not solutions for Eugene. So what I want to say to you is that all of us in the times we live in have a burden of responsibility. I have that burden as part of the leadership of Indivisible, and you have that duty as elected officials. And I urge you to recognize that duty and step forward. I do not believe.
Thank you, Stan. Our next speakers are Scott Lambert, followed by Jacques Travis.
Good evening, Council. My name is Scott Lambert. I am from Ward 2. I'm a grad student at UO and a member of GTFF Local 3544. So thank you for getting rid of Flock. I didn't want them, and I'm glad they're gone. But I also don't want Axon or Motorola or any other ALPR cameras. Even if we could explicitly guarantee that the data was controlled by our municipality, which we could not do with Flock, I would still be uncomfortable with the collection of this data at this time because the city government has demonstrated its inability to keep my data safe solely through its month-long collaboration with Flock. In addition, we should also remember the damages done by in the time that Flock was with us. Hundreds of thousands of dollars were at least allocated to be spent. Dozens of people were abducted, and data was collected on every resident who drove past a camera that I expect is basically out of our hands now and in flux. Although I am glad that the provision to end our contract with Flock did include strong restrictions and ask them to remove that data, I don't see how we can guarantee that they will do that. In light of these consequences, I can unequivocally say that mass surveillance by anyone should not be allowed in our city, and I implore the council to implement stringent policies forbidding mass surveillance by any party. No one needs to know where I am at all times except for me. Yeah. I also am pleased that the public comment period for Amazon for the Amazon warehouse has been reopened. I'm not sure how that happened, but I heard about it, and I'm very, very glad that that is the case. Please do not let this craven corporation enter our community. And finally, I'd like to agree with an earlier public comment that was made. I am sure that City Manager Medeiros has had a very difficult job, but I do not think that that is the only governance structure that we must have. And I, at this point, because of the experience with Flock, do not believe it is the best structure. There should be a more democratic structure put in place to ensure that a single person cannot be persuaded.
Thank you, Scott. Our next speakers are Jacques Travis, followed by Charmaine Landing. Is there a Jacques or perhaps a misspelled Jackie Travis? Any last name Travis? Okay, I will call one more time, but our next speaker is Charmaine Landing.
Hello, as you heard, my name is Charmaine Landing. I'm a resident of Lane County. When our Say No to Amazon group met with the Planning Commission regarding Amazon's proposed distribution center, they referred us to you. They also referred us to Oregon's statewide planning goals. Its first goal is to create significant citizen improvement in ongoing land use planning. In obeyance, Eugene created the Clear Lake Overlay to guide development of these light industrial properties. All aspects of Eugene's citizenry were involved, and in the end, it got your stamp of approval. Currently, the City of Eugene's website describes this overlay. It calls for an additional 37,000 jobs by 2032, with the Clear Lake area providing up to 3,000. Quote, ensuring a 20-year supply of employment can help contribute to Eugene's role as economic hub, help local and new businesses grow in Eugene rather than looking elsewhere, and increase the average wage of our residents. The overlay was created to guide development, but it appears there are no laws on the city's books that say it must be adhered to. The proposed distribution center is passing all the technical requirements, but in no way fulfills the city's vision. I urge you all to go to Eugene's website and read about the Clear Lake development strategy. You will see for yourselves the disconnect between the citizen goals and an Amazon distribution center. Amazon will not be offering a 20-year supply of good-paying jobs as envisioned. It's offering 300 entry-level positions that will disappear in 3 years. It will also take away the jobs of local UPS and Postal Service workers. And when these are gone, we'll be left for years with thousands of daily vehicle trips wearing down our roads and polluting our air. And with Amazon's much-needed access to I-5 from Highway 99, the Beltline Freeway will be overrun. In the many ways that are voiced here tonight, Amazon's place in our area is highly questionable. At the very least, this project must be put on hold and a wide-ranging citizen involvement process be put in place. Amazon's presence will affect all of us. We need to be considered in the decision-making. Thank you.
Thank you, Charmaine. One last call for someone with the first initial J, last name Travis. All right, our next speakers are Faye Rackford, followed by Mark Peabody.
Hi, and just for the record, it's Ratchford, not Rackford. I'm Faye Ratchford, and I am in Ward 4. Jennifer, I appreciate you responding to me. I take issue with a couple of the points, but you'll get another email from me soon. All of you, each one of you, are part of this. Each one of you has a responsibility. I go by name you, but everybody already knows your name. And many of the folks that are here tonight are gathered to express their total objection to the thought of Amazon invading our community. It's hard for me to believe that some of the issues, the La Rapa study, that they didn't understand the impact and the number of vehicles. I thought that they were here to help us keep our air clean and to help guide that process. If it isn't part of their mandate, it should be. They're usually diesel trucks, and the air quality, as much of a 12-year-old maybe, has told you the truth about what's going to happen as far as our air is concerned. I believe that having an independent body reviewing that study or the results of it may be in order. Also, it's my understanding, if it's correct, that there was no impact on a traffic study. Don't they do a traffic study? What would the impact be for that? Again, a 12-year-old can tell you that. So each of you has, as each of you have heard from the folks in your wards, 4, 1, 8, 7, if this project goes forward and it goes wrong, and it will go wrong, each one of you will be remembered for not standing up for your community. That will be your legacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Faye. Our next speakers are Mark Peabody, followed by Josh Easterland.
Hi, I am Mark Peabody. I'm from Ward 8. I'm a member of Indivisible. I'm also an environmentalist. I plant trees. I restore habitat right here in Willamette Valley. So the valley is very important to me. And I was looking up statistics, and according to Oregon State University, in the Willamette Valley between 2017 and 2022, Oregon lost 2,069 farms and 667,000 acres over this period. Additionally, the valley has lost 57% of its wetlands and 98% of its native wet prairie lands. The proposed 84-acre site off Aubrey Lane includes wet prairie, seasonal pools, and habitat for animals as well as amphibians and native plants. Right now, the environment, global warming, and climate change are issues that are rarely talked about, especially on the federal level. There are too many issues like health care and the economy that get the headlines. But the truth is the truth, and we have to face the facts. 178,000 deaths in 2023 were caused by heat waves, with over half attributed to human-caused climate change. Pollution from fossil fuels killed 2.5 million people. Another 154,000 deaths were caused by wildfires. Food and water shortages killed 7.6 million people in 2024 alone. These numbers are not going down, they're going up every year because of climate change. The Amazon Warehouse Project increases loss of precious farmlands, wipes out some of the last remaining wetlands and animal habitat, increases pollution, and contributes to global warming. I was a leader. I was assistant principal of a high school, program director, and I know that good leaders look at the facts, and we plan for the next generations. Don't let your legacy be that you chose to support developers instead of planning for the world of your children and your grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Our next speakers are Josh Easterland, followed by Lucy Vinnis.
Hello, City Councilors. I'm Josh Easterland, Director of Equitable Access Eugene, asking you to decriminalize psychedelic plants and fungi, Ward 8. So last week I saw a presentation put out by, looking at the Oregon State Regulated Psilocybin Services. It was put on by Oregon Open Psychedelic Evaluation Nexus, which operates out of OHSU. So essentially over about 15,000 clients so far have received facilitated psilocybin services in Oregon since the program began in 2023. This looked at 264 participants who did a self-reported, 10-minute survey before, 1 week after, 1 month after, and 3 months after. And this is preliminary data. It's not published yet. Participants had a median age of 50 years old, slightly over half women, mostly white, mostly heterosexual. Most had an education of bachelor's degree or higher. Interestingly, 30% had an income equal to or greater than $200,000 a year, and over half resided outside of Oregon and Washington. About half were psychedelically naive, and coming into the study, before doing the clinical trial or the services, 44% had moderate to severe anxiety, according to the HAD score. 41% had moderate to severe depression, and 46% had moderate to severe PTSD. My term's going too quick. Let's see. There were very few harms reported. 92% said that it was the top, but they benefited from the psychedelic experience, top 10% most personally meaningful experiences of their life. Boy, I'm not getting to my data yet, but the point is that most people that could benefit from this probably can't afford it. It's $1,000 to $5,000, $1,200 is the average price, and really the benefits should be going to everybody that could access it if it weren't so expensive. So I'll talk to you more next year. Happy holidays.
Thank you, Josh. Our next speakers are Lucy Vinnis, followed by Sarah Brandt.
Good evening, Councilor, staff, City Manager. Lucy Vinnis, resident of Ward 8 and former mayor. And I just couldn't let this opportunity pass without having the chance to say a few words about Sarah Mederi and my incredible gratitude to her for her service as city manager. And, I'm a fan of the city manager form of government, I have to say, and I'm also a great fan of this particular city manager. We have all benefited, all of you, my former colleagues on the dais, from many, many conversations with Sarah Mederi, both serious and lighthearted, that compelled us to think creatively, dig a little deeper for solutions that made us feel connected, heard, understood, and made us laugh, and enabled us really to make the hard decisions that we all have to make in these positions. Sarah, you came to this role, to this work in the city, with your full heart and mind, and it is expressed in all of the work you have done. At every difficult juncture, and there were many of them in the time that we served together, you were always able to find some path forward, some way in which we could get from this difficult moment to the next step. And you are doing this in your final week at those very difficult junctures. And you were able to do that because of your deep experience, your understanding of this organization, your love of this community, and your willingness to work well with an incredible team that you have assembled and your willingness to work and listen to everyone around you. And it enables this body to act on our values and to feel optimism that we can meet the challenges ahead. I am so grateful to have served with you. I thank you for your steady hand, for your visionary leadership, and for being a treasured colleague and friend. Congratulations.
Thank you, Lucy. Our next speakers are Sarah Barant, followed by Nancy Honert. Is there a Sarah Barant in the room? Okay, I will call for her one more time after our next speaker, Nancy Honert.
I'm Nancy Honert, Ward 2. The public comment process required in the Eugene Municipal Code as carried out for the Amazon warehouse construction project was flawed. The rules listed in the code require the relevant neighborhood association to be alerted to a neighborhood meeting. But because the Industrial Corridor Community Organization, the official neighborhood association of the Highway 99 area, is defunct, there was no neighborhood association notified. Meeting notification letters went out to a number of immediate neighbors, all factories, warehouses, airplane hangar owners, etc., but not to the wider community. The next closest neighborhood with an active neighborhood association should have been notified for a project with this much impact. 2 signs for the meeting were posted, but on side roads, not on Highway 99, although the property borders Highway 99. No one had any idea at the time of the meeting that an Amazon warehouse was being planned. Amazon's notification process may have met the letter of the law, but not at all its spirit. Is this the level of respect for Eugene we can expect if we allow Amazon to build here? Please set a precedent against this kind of treatment. Is there anything in the code that says the Eugene Planning Department can't hold a public comment meeting of its own for this project? Please direct city staff to open a public comment process for this project and include the wider public in notifications for it before approving the permit for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. One last call for Sarah Barant. Our next speakers are Cameron Stringfield, followed by Taman Montgomery.
Hello, Cameron Stringfield. I live in Ward 7, and I'm an organizer with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. First off, of course, thank you to Sarah Maderi for making the right decision and terminating the Flock contract. You corrected your mistake from March, and I appreciate you doing that before you retire. This is a victory for all of the people of Eugene and Springfield who have packed these meetings for months demanding an end to Flock. To all those here and at home who helped in that effort, I cannot thank you enough. You deserve the overwhelming majority of the credit for this win, and it shows once again that when we organize and fight, we win. All that being said, you know this should have never happened. And so much of our time and energy and resources have been wasted on the Flock issue while our community suffers with other crises and our community was put in danger throughout the whole process with Flock. Part of the problem, which led to this, is the virtually unchecked unilateral power that we've given to the city manager, especially when it comes to contracting. We need to seriously look at charter reform to fundamentally change the city government and eliminate the city manager position. Look, this is the last meeting of the year, and we have much work to do in 2026. Let the lessons of 2025 guide us. Let the general dysfunction and failure of this city government this year lead us as people to fight to change it. Let the terror from ICE this year lead us to become steadfast protectors of our immigrant community. Let the budget nightmare lead us to fight against MUPTs and tax the wealthy to prevent this same crisis in 2027. Lastly, let this Flock victory remind you that no matter how insurmountable the local establishment politics seems sometimes, there is no issue in this community that we can't address by organizing and mobilizing our friends, coworkers, and neighbors. Who has the power? We have the power. What kind of power? People power. Good night.
Thank you, Cameron. Our next speakers are Teeman Montgomery, followed by Kathleen Torrance. Is there a Teeman or Teeman Montgomery in the room? Okay, I will call for them one more time. Our next speaker is Kathleen Torrance. All right, is there a Kathleen? Okay, our next speaker is Ruth Wren. Nice.
My name is Ruth Wren. I live in Ward 1, and I'm with Indivisible Eugene Springfield. And I ask you, councilors, mayor, and city manager, to each state your position on the Amazon warehouse so your constituents know where you stand and why. I ask you to find a way to pause the building process, review the LRAPA decision, and have traffic and environmental impact studies done before proceeding. On September 25th, the Eugene Weekly printed an article by Christian Witchell saying that emails between LRAPA and the project's consultant, the Sater Group, showed friction over which parts of Title 20 apply. Title 20 has two sections. The first and toughest applies to facilities with total parking for 1,000 or more. The second and weaker applies to facilities with parking for 250 to 1,000 vehicles. The Sater Group said the center would have 359 spaces for employees and 1,000 for delivery vehicles, totaling 1,389, so the tougher rules would seem to apply. But Sater argued LRAPA's rules apply only to employee parking spots, not the delivery fleet. So the weaker rules apply. This is nonsense. They also claimed the rules apply only to vehicles with internal combustion engines, and because the facility hopes that most of its vehicles eventually will be EVs, the tougher rules don't apply. Sater says they're aiming for 70% of its fleet to be EVs by the 10th year of operation. This is a very weak promise on which to base the LRAPA decision. Under the tougher rules, the developer must provide an estimate of the gross emissions of carbon monoxide, lead, hydrocarbons, and oxides of nitrogen. The weaker rules don't require such a study. The tougher rules also require an estimate of the additional residential, commercial, and industrial developments which may occur as the result of the facility, including an air quality impact assessment. So why did LRAPA cave to the Sater Group's demands? It makes no sense to apply the weaker rules to this project. I believe LRAPA should reverse their decision.
Thank you, Ruth. One last call for Teeman Montgomery or Kathleen Torrance. Our next speakers are Ken Willis, followed by Francis Starr O'Leary.
Ken Willis, Ward 5, and I wanted to say thank you for canceling the contract, if I could have your attention, please. Ms. Mederi, I appreciate the fact that you canceled the contract and everything's going to be pulled out by December, but I do need you to understand that that action traumatized a significant chunk of the city, including me. I made it known at the beginning of this that I have a very autistic child that is extremely difficult and has truncated a lot of what my family can do. And those cameras put a squeeze on my family that hurt. The fact that I have had to dedicate so much time to this means my wife has been single-handedly dealing with this stress. I know that the decision you made to sign up for Flock was not done in a way that was meant to harm people, but it did. I want you to acknowledge that, at least in some form, that it did do a lot of harm. You've signed off on it and made sure that that's no longer the case, and I greatly appreciate that. But one of the things we're going to have to talk about in January is accountability, and that accountability is going to have to be, what do we do with Chris? I said when this was said and done that we were going to have a real serious talk about Chris Skinner and whether or not he's the right man for the job. And the level of arrogance, willful ignorance, not communicating with the public, the amount of information we threw at him is unacceptable. It just is. So we are going to have that talk in January. The other thing we need to talk about is a technology review board moving forward when it comes to technological development and its implementation in our city. And we're running a budget deficit, so we've got to do this and find the money. What happened with Flock can never happen again, under any circumstances. So I'd like the board to seriously consider a technology review board moving forward. And man, I don't want to do this again.
Thank you, Ken. Our next speakers are Francis Starr O'Leary, followed by Brittany Quickwarner.
Hi there. My name is Francis Starr O'Leary, and I want to talk about Amazon. I'm a wildland firefighter by trade, but I recently spent a little over a year and a half as a letter carrier for the post office. During that time, I was a proud and active member of the local branch of the National Association of Letter Carriers, Branch 916. Over the past few decades, postal volume has shifted to include far more parcels, so much so that letter carriers now deliver 7 days a week and call Sundays Amazon Sunday, since that's all they deliver on those days. One Sunday at the office I worked at, I calculated that Amazon deliveries accounted for 190 labor hours just for letter carriers that day. To put that into perspective, that's nearly 5 good, full-time, middle-class union jobs that would be eliminated by getting rid of Amazon deliveries 1 day a week at one of the 7 zip codes that make up Eugene and Springfield. If you extrapolate, that would be over 200 letter carriers out of work across Eugene and Springfield if Amazon deliveries disappeared. Now you might say, just get a job at the warehouse. But I have a degree in journalism, so I talked to someone about it and found out more information. Michael Farrow is an Amazon delivery driver who works at a distribution center in Salt Lake City, and he and I compared how our work looked. On paper, being a delivery driver for Amazon at the post office isn't all that different in the first year. Farrow and I made about the same hourly rate the first year and had comparable benefits, but the stark differences come the longer one worked for their employer. At the post office, letter carriers get guaranteed pay raises and cost of living adjustments, recognition for time served in the military, mentorship programs for more senior carriers, and above all, a collective bargaining agreement. At Amazon, there's no clear path to advancement. Workers are discouraged from talking to their coworkers, and we have repeatedly seen across this country how Amazon fights tooth and nail against unionization. While the post office is an entry point to the middle class, Amazon keeps its delivery drivers perpetually in the gig economy. In closing, Amazon does not come to a community to create jobs. At the most generous, you could say that it is transferring jobs from a public service sector to the profit motive-driven private sector. If Amazon builds its warehouse in Eugene, it will lead to the immiseration of working people. You don't have to act powerless. You can open the books and find a way to fight this and stand up for your constituents and tell Amazon no. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. Our next speakers are Brittany Quickwarner, followed by Allison Dogwood. Is Brittany Quickwarner in the room? All right, our next speaker is Allison Dogwood.
Good evening. I'm Allison Dogwood. Hi, Francis. I am an active postal carrier. I live in the other half of the community in Springfield. Being a letter carrier is a great job, so they say, till you start. And then it comes with a lot of crappy things, and it's not nearly as crappy as Amazon. I am also speaking on behalf of myself as a private citizen. I am not representing the union, any of the unions or organizations, or the post office with these comments. I'm just concerned that I could lose my job if Amazon moves into town. A little math for you guys. Amazon accounts for at least 70% of our package volume, and if we lose that package volume, we lose our routes. A mail route is determined by how much mail you have and how long it takes to deliver that. You need to be able to do it in 8 hours. If it is an overburden route, they adjust the routes, and they create new routes by taking that extra time. Springfield just had that happen last year. Eugene just had it happen this year. After routes got adjusted in Eugene, 2 offices lost their Amazon delivery because Amazon said they're going to come and take their deliveries back. Those routes got adjusted to 8-hour routes and are now in undertime. And so our new routes that got created will be stripped apart and taken away so that those routes can be back to 8 hours. That means jobs will be taken from union carriers, jobs that have good benefits and protections. If you have 20 routes in an office, and every single one of those routes loses 2 hours of work every day. That's 40 hours in one day. That's 6 routes, because you deliver mail 6 days a week. That's 6 40-hours weeks. We have 30 routes in Springfield. The post office has a layoff protection clause that doesn't go into effect until you have had your own route for almost 6 years. I have put in almost 3 years at the post office, and I'm next in line to get my own route in our office. If Amazon comes in and takes all of our packages, everyone loses their jobs. This is so dangerous, and it goes to the union-busting monster that is Amazon. Save the post office, say no to Amazon.
Thank you, Allison. One last call for Brittany Quickhorner. Maybe I did that. Our next speakers are Kristen Kessler, followed by Danny Patch.
Good evening. My name is Kristen Kessler, and I live in Ward 2. I want to say thank you to any representative that influenced the Chief of Police and City Manager in their decision to cancel Eugene Police Department's contract with Flock. It is heartening that community protest was taken seriously, but please do not stop now and listen. Please do not stop listening to us now as we say cancellation of this contract is not enough. As long as the more than 50 cameras with license plate recognition capability remain installed, the threats to individual privacy and to public trust of the city remain in place. We have every reason to believe that the Eugene Police Department remains resolved to use these authoritarian tools of data collection. Their memo regarding canceling the contract states, Eugene Police's automated license plate reading system experience has demonstrated the value of leveraging automated license plate recognition to aid in investigations. If you had any conviction behind your argument you may have made to cancel this contract, you must continue to fight Flock until the cameras are taken down, and there's legislation protecting people from this sort of data collection in the future. A new city manager, police chief, or constitution of city council that wants to use this once defeated mass surveillance system deserves to deal with the obstacle of reinstallation. Via federal enforcement, any person who deviates from the white supremacist norms that this country was founded on is at risk of being deported or disappeared. If you care for someone in this situation and have contemplated something as simple as doing grocery runs for them, understand that data can be collected by Flock, can and will be used against you. It is foolish to rely on the idea that those doing nothing wrong have nothing to hide. Please consider that in 2025, the Supreme Court lifted restrictions that prevented ICE from using factors of race, language, or work location as basis for immigration stops. To those fighting to prevent mass surveillance from defining how we operate in our city, your job is not done. Please do not be part of the reason that this threat literally remains hanging over our heads. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Our next speaker is Danny Patch.
I really fail to understand all this praise given to the city manager. The mobile dumpster fire, we're going to be putting this out for decades. The financial ruin, we've lost our hospital, the city streets are a wreck, people are upset with the due process. What a disgusting failure. What's all this toe-kissing stuff? It's disgusting. By the way, I know that this chamber at one point passed an ordinance to outlaw light LED boards, advertisement, piercing through the dark and destroying our night vision. I don't know what happened to it, but we're starting to see these things pop up. I want to talk about the fact that we have a silent killer going on in this town, and it's because of you up there in your little fancy chairs. You're destroying the traffic flow in this town. We can't get anywhere without congestion every hour of the working day. It's not just prime time, it's every hour. And you're going to add Amazon to Beltline? How many people get to die before you realize that you made a mistake? It's a disaster trying to drive north and south in this town. And now you've choked our main corridor through campus going east and west. You know, there's an old echoing slogan that says, that's never been so more true. You're so stupid, you're dangerous. You kill people. You kill people with your stupidity. You may not think you're responsible for the traffic flow, but when you design these streets with all this chaos, all these obstacles, all these, it looks like a frickin' nightmare. Somebody who's mentally ill with all these pylons everywhere. You're trying to put a bike lane every single inch there is. You destroy business. You destroy people's lives. You destroy people's property. Think about it. We can't handle your stupidity. We're constantly trying to put out your fires. We've been doing it for a whole year now, and that's one of the reasons right there. I'm glad she's gone. Maybe we'll start improving.
Council President, I don't think we have time for another speaker before 9:55, so that was our final speaker.
I now close the public comment period. Are there any comments from the City Council? Okay. If not, that's the last item. We're moving to the last item on tonight's agenda, consent calendar 2. So a resolution annexing land to the city of Eugene located at 2488 Devon Avenue. Council Vice President, there are no questions from council. I'll turn to the Council Vice President to put forward a motion.
Move to approve the items on consent calendar 2.
Second. Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Council, can you enter your votes? There we go. Locked in. All right. The motion passes 8-0. And that concludes our agenda for this evening. All right. We are done.